On this episode of Secrets of Beautiful Gardens, nothing is quite what it seems. So in other words,
Walking on water.
there is the weird,
Ripper of a tree, but ladders, rabbit traps, old lawnmowers, watering cans. What's happening here?
there is the wonderful. Believe it or not, I'm within walking distance of a fair dinkum volcano. And there is the truly amazing.
Welcome to High Country Maze.
So, all aboard as we take you on a journey to visit some of the quirkiest gardens in the country. When's the next train come?
Hello and welcome to the show. You know that old expression, beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Well, you know, beauty means different things to each and every one of us.
When it comes to the garden, one person's beauty might be a formal parterre garden, and another might be full of roses and a beautiful perfume. But what about if it's a volcano, a maze, or even an oversized board game?
Yeah, well, that's right. Those last three things just happen to be the setting for some of the quirkiest gardens I think you'll ever see.
Full of passion and personality, these quirky spaces prove one thing. When it comes to designing a beautiful garden, you're only limited by your own imagination.
These gardens also prove that quirky can still be beautiful and practical. In fact, I think a great garden should have all these different elements in balance.
Because life is not meant to be too serious, and neither are our gardens. Now, the first garden that we're about to look at is not just beautiful, it's also a giant game of snakes and ladders. And although the game is in the backyard, before you even step foot in this suburban Melbourne garden, the hedge, which is clipped and shaped of a wave, suggests that there's something pretty cool on the other side. The fun definitely starts out the front. No conservative little set of stairs and path to the front door, but a nice, beautiful park-like garden. And what I'm walking on here are river pebbles, pushed into concrete, which is 100 mil deep. Is meant to represent where you've thrown a pebble into the water and you get all the ripples. So in other words,
Walking on water.
Phil Stray, the designer responsible for this super fun landscape, has an inspirational approach to gardens.
A lot of people forget that there's fun in gardens and play. And so for me, it was about creating a nice environment and having a bit of sense of fun.
How do you roll these dice?
Well, you've got to have guns as big as yours, mate.
It took Phil 2 years to convert this steep block into an interesting garden full of Aussie natives. Like kangaroo paw, everlasting daisies, and leucadendrons, which aren't native, but they still suit the conditions. The garden borrows the landscape of the neighbouring golf course too.
Quite often I get groups of Japanese golfers all photographing the golf club tree. They think that's a lot of fun.
Even though we're at the bottom of the property, I reckon this is the start of the path because I'm standing on the snake's head, protecting the property from the golfers slicing the ball. And its body, well, it's the rest of the path, meandering up to the top. But I think one of the nicest things is the fact that Phil's used pretty inexpensive materials. These paths are just like crusher dust or fines. And then these steppers that you can see, well, they're offcuts of sandstones that he's shaped up to look like scales of the back of the snake.
I wanted to make sure it was accessible for all. And so I needed to have a windy path. And so that's when I started thinking, well, the path looks very much like a snake to me. And so that's when I thought, well, let's make it a snake. So when people walk down, they actually think, well, am I walking on a path or am I walking on a snake? Some people get it and some people don't, but that's the game.
Well, we've seen the snakes, I showed you the dice, and here's the ladders. I think I'll stick to the path. That ends with a great little fire pit area, guarded by a giant, this time a blue-tongued lizard.
I haven't tried to create a normal backyard, if that's the right word. I've tried to create something that's that relates to the environment that's here, and also make sure it's a sense of fun.
You gotta love this garden. It's the reason why I became a landscaper. And the most important thing, everything's usable, it's functional, it's full of natives, and it's fun. This garden is a classic example of where folly meets practicality. Now, the materials used are very affordable, and the plants tough and hardy. And that snake path winding down to the golf course is the most natural way down that slope. Think about it. If you cut steps into a landscape, that would be unnatural and take more effort to get up and down, especially if you're trailing a golf cart behind you. But the curved lines of the snake allow you to casually meander up and down the path at your leisure, enjoying the garden as you go. So if you want a quirky garden, go ahead and do it. You're the only person you have to please. It's just a theme, whether it be your favourite board game or your favourite movie. Just promise me one thing. You don't do a Star Wars themed garden. Promise? No Star Wars. Later in the show, I go completely off the rails. I think I can. And Graham discovers an extremely rare tree hiding in the Aussie bush.
I've heard of bottle trees, but this is ridiculous.
But coming up next, Graham's amazed at what he finds in the Victorian countryside.
Wow, what a magnificent sight. Welcome back. You know, there are two key elements that you need to create a great garden: passion and dedication. Now, the next garden that you're about to see has an abundance of both. Located in Mansfield in the foothills of the Victorian Alps, this garden was created by two home gardeners without any outside help whatsoever. And believe you me, it is amazing. Most gardens are best experienced right here at ground level, where you can smell them and touch them. But this one, well, it looks pretty good from the air as well. Welcome to High Country Maze. This spectacular collection of formal gardens and rolling lawns showcases just how magnificent a private garden can be. With kilometres of hedging, thousands of plants and precision topiary, High Country Maze remains the family home of its creators, Dean and Tracy Shipley.
How are you, Graham?
Pleased to meet you. You too,
G'day.
Dean. How are you, mate?
Yeah, excellent.
Wow, what a magnificent sight. And the mountains, the whole scenery here is truly beautiful, isn't it? So you're a hairdresser
I am.
and a plumber. How did you end up creating this garden?
Just a passion, I think. We've been planning it for about 20 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we went to one when we were younger, and we thought, what a great idea, let's make one of these.
Why was that? Was it just an inspiration?
What a crazy moment.
Madness.
Yeah.
Madness, I think.
So was there a plan in the beginning?
No, not really. We knew we wanted the maze
Right.
and the open garden room, the games room and the kids' maze. And we knew we wanted the plane tree walk, but all the pathways and all the other little garden beds just sort of appeared.
The 6-acre property is more than just a giant maze. There's plenty of detail to explore, like the pixie faces, sculptures and stunning natural artworks. Who does the pruning, I guess? Dean?
Tracy does the pruning of the roses.
All right.
I do the hedging.
I do all the pretty stuff, the stuff you get credit for.
So how many plants in the hedge?
There's 2,500.
And how many boxes?
6,000.
6,000
Yeah.
boxes.
Tracy probably planted 5,900 of the box hedges
I did.
on her knees.
On my knees.
I just used the string line and the paint and marked it out.
So what are some of your favourite areas in the whole garden?
Oh, well, probably the heart garden, just because Dean designed that for me.
Oh, you old softy.
Lots of brownie points there for him.
I did need the points.
Yeah, fair enough.
I've got a Mother Earth sculpture that I've put into the ground.
Right.
So I made her face and her hands and her feet.
I like the labyrinth and the Australian garden.
It's supposed to balance you. So you're supposed to, if you have a problem or a question you want solved, if you walk the labyrinth, it's supposed to balance everything, and when you get to the centre, then you're supposed to have the answer to your question.
Right, it must be a bit of a queue there at times.
I'm there every day.
Tracy's hairdressing skills aren't lost on these wonderful examples of topiary scattered throughout this extraordinary garden. These are incredible. How old are they?
So they're about 10 years old now.
The wire frame inside is
Yep.
very basic. You're actually creating the shape.
Yeah, you have to, when it's young and green, tie it down. And you
Right.
tie it to the lowest part so the plant grows up to the light. So the plant is a privet.
Oh, it's the tiny little leaf privet.
Yeah.
See, these are not going to flower or fruit for you, are they? You're clipping
they're
them.
not. I'm clipping it.
So it's not going to spread?
No, it's not going to spread, and it's tough for here, so it copes with the frost, it copes with the heat, and it hasn't been an issue for me at all.
Now, this fellow, he's on a bit of a canter. I'll end up at the business end here. Don't get much manure from a horse like this, do you?
No, you don't.
You don't even get much compost.
No compost, no manure, but it doesn't take much to feed.
Yeah, right, I guess,
And
yeah.
A cheap horse.
he's
Yeah.
a cheap horse.
Now the showpiece of the garden is obviously the maze. Tracy and Dean didn't use GPS markings, it was all done by hand.
So this maze itself starts off square
Right.
and then turns round.
Do you ever get lost?
I do, actually. If I'm hedging for 2-3 hours, I'll put my hedger down, look up and go, where am I?
How difficult does this one rate compared to some of the others?
I think this one's fairly easy compared to some of the others.
It's a bit of a worry, isn't it, mate? You're getting lost in the hay, just relatively easy.
Well,
He still gets,
Why do you lost your hair?
he gets lost
Just ask
coming out of a
Tracy.
shopping centre,
I
let
can't
alone
even
a
find my car.
maze.
Take me to the centre.
I'll take you.
Yeah,
then,
thank you
won't
very
I'll follow
much.
you, Tracy.
I'll follow you, mate.
Just don't follow me out.
Are we near the end yet?
Oh, yes, here we are, the centre of the maze.
It's amazing.
We've got to get out yet.
It's
Lucky you had
incredible.
me here.
It's huge. It's fantastic. I've just got to congratulate you both. You know, what started out as a dream has become a reality, and you've driven that with passion.
All right.
Good luck.
Find
Yeah.
your way out. We'll let you go.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
See you in 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. All the best.
He's
Going
lost,
the wrong way.
he's lost already.
There you go.
There's a lovely backstory I want to tell you. You know, I was thinking of using my GPS on my phone so that I could get out of the maze, but I just couldn't get any signal on my phone at all. But during downtime, my cameraman tied his phone to a drone, sent it up 200 metres into the air just to download his messages. Very resourceful. Look, to be truthful, I really wasn't in a hurry to get out of there. Dean and Tracy have created something really special indeed. And she might be a hairdresser and he might be a plumber. But together they've become great gardeners just for the sheer love of it. And wherever you look, you can see it. It shows everywhere. And that's what I really love. Later in the show, I visit a garden in far north Queensland that's gone just a little bit troppo.
Oh, Graham, this is my bromeliad area.
Oh, look at the colour. Plus, I discover some fun and frivolity tucked away in the New South Wales countryside.
It's quirky, it's colourful, and it's unique.
But coming up next, Jason takes a trip to Funtown.
When's the next train come?
Buddy, you're waiting a long time, I'm telling you.
G'day and welcome back. Now let's talk collecting. I love collecting old boots and watches, and some people even collect things as weird as snow globes, whatever floats your boat. And it can be a lifetime passion. But all too often those collections are tucked away. Only the person who's passionate about it loves it, and it ends up in a man cave or the spare room. Well, this next person has got their passion front and centre. So anyone and everyone can see it.
Hi.
Terry Benjamin is a man who loves gardening. He loves anything old and he loves making stuff. But most of all, Terry loves trains. And his award-winning home garden in Sydney Southwest has become a showcase for all things Terry. So, all aboard for a great little Aussie garden. Morning.
Morning.
How are you, Terry? When's the next train come?
Buddy, you're waiting a long time, I'm telling you.
Terry's place used to just be a normal suburban block, but he discovered trains and his garden went off track. What a great spot to sit and enjoy the garden.
Well, it is. This time of the morning is fantastic.
There's a lifetime of collecting and making here, but how did it start?
This seat was the first thing I bought. And from then, this has been built. Favourite piece is the sign down there, the Carlton sign. I love all of it, really.
Apart from the railway memorabilia, you're a very good gardener. I love your lawn, I'm jealous of that. And everything is popping at the moment, it's as neat as a pin.
It is a passion. The garden is something I like doing, really enjoy. Now that I've retired, great day like today, every hour's in the garden. If I'm mowing the lawn or doing the edges, people walking by, they talk, and I won't let them get away. I say, come up here, have a look. Because they can see so much from there, but so much more from here.
The old signs that would have said, you know, Campbelltown or Hilltop, some of them are real and some of them you're
Some are, but it all blends in, as you can see.
It does. And I couldn't tell the difference between the real and the fake,
Real and
so
fake,
it's
yeah.
credit to you.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to give us a couple of tips on how you did it?
Well, I will, but not now.
Not on
It's a
camera.
trade
Not
secret.
on
It's a
camera.
trade secret. Someone asked me, what's the best tool in your shed? And I said, my imagination.
And it's not just the railway signs that Terry's a dab hand at. He's also done the street markers. Now, back in the day, they had these on the side of the road. And what this one says is Sydney, who's 32 miles that away, and Campbelltown is 8 miles that way. But it's fake. He's made it himself. This is actually the inside of a terracotta pot, which he's filled with concrete, broken the pot off and left with the mould. And the bit on the top to make it look authentic is just an ice cream container that he's made a mould out of. Put the two together and it looks fantastic. Probably cost you $10 if you wanted to have a crack at it yourself. So yeah, the garden's beautiful because of all the ornaments about the railway, but it's actually a really smart garden as well. Look how thick and dense all these ground covers are, so you don't have to worry about weeds. And then you've got strelitzias, cordyline, yuccas that are easy to look after. You're not pruning and hedging all the time and worrying too much about watering or feeding either. They look after themselves, which means Terry can tinker and make more stuff for his garden. To a neat freak, this would be a nightmare, but to people like Terry and me, this is art. My kind of heaven. Well, I've really been inspired by this great Aussie garden, and to quote the classics, I think I can build something exactly like this in my backyard. Which I'll do a little later in the show. I absolutely love it where passion and personality come together. I guarantee if you've got those two things in bucket loads, you are going to end up with a great garden, and that's exactly what you've got here. A unique, one-off, never to be copied anywhere in the world, because that garden that garden there is Terry. So if you want your garden to be unique, you can do it easily, because after the break, I'm going to do it to mine, and you can give your garden that personal touch as well. Later in the show, Graham gets caught up in some garden drama.
Look, I feel like I'm being looked at. Wouldn't be by tree beard up here, would it?
And I find a garden in Melbourne that's an absolute blast. Now, if you think of your classic shaped volcano, it's a mountain with the top blown out. And that's exactly what you have here. But next, we're heading down to DIY town. Next stop, your house.
G'day and welcome back to the show. In today's episode, Jason and I have been taking a behind-the-scenes look at some beautiful, quirky gardens that have been created by some very adventurous spirits who dare to be different. Well, the owner of this next garden is definitely not afraid to blaze her own trail, creating a garden that could be best described as tropical with a few surprising twists. I'm in Cairns in tropical North Queensland visiting Bev, a home gardener who has a passion for plants that's simply contagious. Hi, Bev.
Hi, Graham. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, you too. How are you?
Pleasure to drop in. That's
What
great.
a beautiful spot.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I
Thanks
just
for
love-
inviting us.
Oh, no, I love your show. I'm just so excited that you could come.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Over the past 30 years, Bev has created the most amazing oasis on a block that was once just sand. So what's happening here?
Oh, Graham, this is my bromeliad area.
Oh, look at the colour.
They're the guzmanias. They've all come on just for you.
Isn't it beautiful? But the interesting thing about them, they're hardy right through even into cool climates.
Absolutely. I love bromeliads. I'm addicted to them.
Well, let's have a look a little bit more. Oh,
Yeah,
hello, here's a
sure.
little pathway.
This is our boardwalk, guarded by Ned Kelly.
Good on you, Ned. Wow. The thing that I love, you've got these beautiful pots all the way through. And look at that. Did you make that?
Yeah.
Little blue glass
It's,
and
the blue.
the little turtle. Look at the alocasia. They're doing well.
I love their leaves.
Yeah, and the calathea.
I do keep them in pots here, though.
Why is that?
Because it's still so sandy underneath. As much as I've brought in soil and mulch.
Not enough nutrition.
That's right.
I bet the grandkids love it.
Oh, they do. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the mother and the babies.
I love it. And taking full advantage of the climate, Bev's really gone troppo out the back as well. Wow. Now this is an oasis. You've created something very special here.
Love it here.
Do you know, the most common question I get asked is that people have trouble growing plants around pools. Now, was this a salt pool?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you've got splash going up.
That's right.
And look at this.
And they're very easy plants, nothing fancy there, Graham. Dracenias, they're the green and white, and they just grow from sticking in the ground. Got some croton, same sort of thing. A lot of them were just sticks for a while.
Look at the bromeliads. They're growing in salt water. You could sit here all day.
Yeah.
But the tour isn't over yet, because there's more quirky garden ideas to discover around the other side of Bev's home. Wow, you certainly do love colour, Bev. Look at this bougainvillea.
Oh, I love colour, Graham.
This is incredible. I love the alcantara. Well, that's a beautiful bromelia.
Yeah, that's the rubra. And I've saved the best to last.
Well, you certainly have. This is a surprise.
This was my husband's Christmas present.
Well, he's spoiled. This is beautiful. What a great use of artificial grass. Well, of course, your soil's so terrible.
There was a nothing area, that's right. At least we can now use it.
You can certainly use it. The shade... Did you plant these palm trees?
Yep. Because they're a bit of a boring trunk, that's why we put the broms up.
I love it. Look at them. They're just clothing all the way up. They absolutely look fantastic. But I think there's got to be a challenge here, Bev.
That's right, I think so.
OK. Oh, yes.
Too much.
And if at first you don't succeed, try and try again.
Yes!
I'm quitting while I'm ahead.
No, not.
Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thank you for coming along. It's been an awesome afternoon.
It's been fabulous.
Mate, that's what I call a garden that triumphs over adversity. I mean, her sandy soil would be an absolute shocker to work with, so she had to think outside the square. Plants in pots, you can look after them with better soil, and then the synthetic putting green, perfect.
Yeah, look, you're dead right. In fact, that creativity is what makes Bev such a great gardener. She looked at those palm trunks and thought, yep, I'm going to clothe those with bromeliads. She added colour, interest and depth to the garden.
And it's those personal little things that make a difference, turning a garden from good to great, because you can't buy character off the shelf. So don't tell Terry, because he was pretty tight-lipped about his DIY secrets, but I am going to steal an idea from his railway garden so that I can add a signature touch to my place. I thought it was fantastic and it inspired me. My old house is called Bensonville, but it doesn't say it anywhere. So I'm not going to turn it into Central, but I am going to turn it into Bensonville Station. Now I've got half a sheet of ply here for my sign, which is about a $30 investment. The sign's only going to be half of this, but you need the other half so you can do the frame around the outside and cut out all the letters. That'll give it depth, just like Terry's, and make it look real. Now, the first thing I need to do is get that classic shape. It's just a rectangle with a circle in the centre. All the straight lines, I'm going to use a circular saw. It's a lot easier to get a professional look, nice and straight. For the curves in the corners, that's where I use the jigsaw. Now, when you're making a cut, it's always a good idea to cut on the outside of your line. That means that you're not getting rid of anything you want to keep. You can see here that my cuts are about 2 or 3 mil wide. If they were inside the line or on the line, it would change the width of my board by up to 5 or 6 mil. Now, the difference in the blade between the jigsaw and the circular saw are quite considerable. So you can see that there's a huge contrast in the cuts. To eliminate that so you still get exactly what you want, make sure all your cuts are on the waist, on the outside of your pencil lines. And the frame that goes around the outside is pretty simple because you've got this template. All you need to do is trace around it and cut it. Then, for the inside, just come in 15 mil and you've got it. Hodgesville. And the letters, well, they're just printed off the internet webby thingy and they're 15 mil as well. And if you're bending around a B like I am here, or an S, and it's too sharp for the blade, go past it. Everything outside it is waste anyway. It's kind of like a 3-point turn. It's easier to go around in a couple of moves. It gives the blade somewhere to bend. Pretty much what you're looking at now is the raw ingredients, all ready to go. We could glue it and nail it, and then it would be an absolute nightmare to paint. So I'm going to paint all the letters and this frame high gloss black. Even though you won't see the back, I'm giving it a coat of paint just for some extra protection. And I'm being pretty haphazard with the paint. The thicker you do it, the rougher you do it, the more authentic it looks. Now, as far as spacing it out goes, they're not like pickets going onto a fence, which are all the same width. If you grab this I and this B, you can see that they're different sizes, so it won't end up nice and even. The best way to do it is to space it out, have a straight edge so you can lie them out flat, take it away, enjoy the view, and then start with the B and end with the E. But there you go. It's authentic looking. I reckon it suits my house just fine. In fact, it looks that real I could start checking people's tickets. Danny, sorry, mate, you're not a guide dog. What's that? You're a good companion? Yes, you are. You can go through. Next stop, your house. Now, if you want to make a sign like mine in your backyard, you pretty much have to follow my rules. But if you want to do anything else, chuck the rule book out. After all, it's your garden. You're the only person you need to please. If you like it, well, then it's perfect. Later in the show, we go out with a bang. And believe it or not, I'm within walking distance of a fair dinkum volcano. But up next, there's something weird happening in Winchelsea.
What's happening here? Ladders? Rabbit traps? Old lawnmowers? Watering cans? Welcome back. I do love a garden with a bit of drama. This next one we're about to see has it in spades. Its creator is a theatre buff, and the garden is more like a tale of international intrigue. And it's set on a stage within the Aussie bush. Sometimes you discover garden treasures where you least expect to. I'm in the Manning Valley on the mid-north coast of New South Wales to take a look around a garden called Winchelsea. Now, the creator of this garden said it's like a stage of theatrical sets. Let me tell you, this is going to be a very interesting journey. George Hode began work on his garden 8 years ago, transforming a paddock into something both beautiful and very personal. That is some gate. George.
Graham, good morning.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
What a little bit of paradise you've got here. What was the inspiration to create a garden here?
Trips to the UK, trips to Europe. You pick up a little idea here, a little idea there.
Right.
And this is what I've ended up with. Have a look.
If Winchelsea is like a stage of sets drawing influence from English and European gardens, then this would have to be the centre stage. A little bit of Rome here in the middle of this paradise.
Well, it is a little bit inspired from French Roman gardens, but I wanted this area as the anchor of the garden. I wanted a fountain big enough that I could hear it tinkling throughout. The way I look at it, you've got to have that big area, the big sweeps of lawn, to set off the smaller areas.
Now, this looks like one of my favourite trees, the Aussie tallowood, Eucalyptus microcori. Ripper of a tree, but ladders, rabbit traps, old lawnmowers, watering cans. What's happening here?
Well, I'm a great bowerbird at garage sales, auctions. And so whenever I find something interesting, I put it on the tree. And actually, when I've had open gardens over the years, I've discovered that people add to it who come back time and again.
I think that's really amazing that people are adding to it. That's incredible.
Yep. I was driving home from town one day and I spotted this pile of old bits and pieces, and this was on top. And I was looking for a full stop on this gate so that your eye doesn't go through it, it stops there. And there you have it.
You have achieved success.
I have.
Well done, I like it. Listen to that sound. Very eerie here. It's a bit sort of like some mysterious sort of film set. George, I feel like I'm being looked at.
Wouldn't be by Treebeard up here, would it? And his friends. Inspired by Lord of the Rings.
George, I think we need to get out of here.
Let's go.
There's a great sense of fun here at Winchelsea. It's definitely not just a theatre for adults.
I love to surprise and put a smile on people's faces, and the kids just love things like that.
And if you're looking for the pretty stage set, that's covered here as well. Well, I guess with your home there, this would have to be the cottage garden.
That's right, Graham. It started off as lawn with a few trees. I got rid of the trees and decided, well, every cottage needs a cottage garden.
Salvias are plenty.
Yep, they do very well here.
Yeah. And the Duranta, the variegated Duranta, it's gone nuts.
Yep, and it's got this beautiful blue, so it's a lovely contrast with this fella here.
With the smoke bush.
Yeah, that's right. And I like to fill the garden, especially this one, with these beautiful big terracotta pots. They give the garden seasonal interest, so in winter, when everything's died down and been cut back, at least you've got something to look at. And that's why I like the quirky, whimsical side of gardening, because it's there for 12 months.
Right. George hasn't just stuck with European influences. There's an Oriental garden, even a Moroccan pavilion. Beautiful water lilies.
Yeah, well, these actually just come in by themselves, usually on ducks' feet.
Really?
Yep, and they populate the dam. I haven't had to do anything about that.
Native water lilies for free.
That's right.
Throughout the garden, George's love of the theatre is everywhere.
I fill them with things from garage sales, auctions, off the side of the road. I just think anyone can do that. Everyone should get out there and just have a look around and think, oh, I could use that in my garden.
Even a bottle tree.
Well, exactly.
A real bottle tree.
A real bottle tree.
Well, as I predicted, it's been a fantastic journey. Fascinating, but without a doubt, it reflects the personality of its owner.
Oh, thank you very much, Graham. I guess over the years I've tried to develop a garden that is a lovely space, but also by adding the little quirky touches, that there's a lot of me in there.
Thanks for sharing it today.
Thank you, Graham.
Good on you, mate. What George has done in this garden so well is to mix the fun elements and the formal to great success. The garden around the European-style fountain was inspired by the grand gardens of Versailles. So in the Aussie bush, in the middle of nowhere, George is tipping his hat to Louis XIV, and it's that sense of the slightly absurd that carries throughout the entire garden. It's not a garden which takes itself too seriously, which means it's a garden that you can spend a lot of fun time in. And let's face it, fun is just fun.
After the break, an explosive ending to the show. I'm in the Royal Botanic Gardens in Melbourne, but I bet you haven't seen this before. G'day, welcome back. Now, Graham and I have been discovering quirky gardens, the ones that are designed to stand out and definitely not blend in. So far, the gardens have been high on fun and frivolity. There's been the board games, the theatre stage, even a bit of good old train spotting. But this next garden is a little bit more explosive. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble. G'day, I'm in Melbourne, on the banks of the Yarra. The MCG's just over there, beautiful cityscape behind me, and across the road, the Botanic Gardens. And believe it or not, I'm within walking distance of a fair dinkum volcano. Yep, a volcano. No, it's not about to go off. I don't need to wear one of those thermal suits. In fact, it's full of water. Its original job was to look good. It was a bit of a folly or a feature for the garden, but it was also a reservoir. Back in 1876, Mr. William Guilfoyle commissioned this to be done. But then the mains were turned on in 1930 and everyone forgot about it. It wasn't until 2008 when the Botanical Gardens got their act together again and created what you can see today. And landscape architect Andrew Laidlaw is the man who's been given the task of bringing William Guilfoyle's explosive vision back to life.
I just use plants to try and create a sense of volcanic movement, if you like.
Did you know what he had planted around it?
We got this picture that he probably used quite a lot of bulb plants but big drifts of succulents. This is a great palette of plants to use because it makes a lot of sense in our drought conditions. I wanted it to have a sort of either a red or a volcanic theme.
Now, if you think of your classic shaped volcano, it's a mountain with the top blown out. And that's exactly what you have here. And this is the side of the mountain. This orange that runs through, it's meant to look like the lava that's flowing down the hill. It's actually crushed terracotta. It might have been your roof or your pipes once upon a time. And then the larger ballast, Well, that's what we run our train lines on, and it's meant to look like the dried lava. The big boulders, well, they're huge rocks that have been displaced and dropped into the landscape. And just like a volcano that's gone dormant, it gets taken over by nature again. And the planting that comes back, well, it has to be pretty tough because there's next to no nutrients up there. They've used Alcantaria rubra, aloe vera, and these wonderful golden ball cactus, or cacti, or cactuses. Let's go with cactus. Everywhere you look, the plants here are amazing. They've got different shapes, colours and textures. And this is a great example of having all three. Now, it's an echevera, it's called barren bold. To me, it looks a little bit like an ornamental cabbage or even coral that you'd see in the ocean. But the best thing about echevera is they are tough. They're quite easy to transplant. Just take a cutting and stick it in the ground. But it's the reservoir at the top that's got the really important job. It picks up all the storm water from the suburb around here. So that water's not rushing down the roads and straight into the Yarra unclean. It gets cleaned up by the plants that are around the edge and on these islands. These islands are floating, and the root systems from the plants, they're all water lovers, soak down into the water and clean it up before it reuses it to help water the rest of the botanic gardens. Smart, isn't it? Even the paths that lead up to the volcano look very natural. They're informal. They look like they've been just worn out with foot traffic. They're just another version of the crushed tile, but slightly finer. Now, these would be fantastic for a driveway. Beautiful crunch underneath the tyres. But as far as front paths go, I reckon you'd be cleaning floorboards or vacuuming every day. It's a no-no. If you're from interstate, I reckon next time you come to Melbourne, put it on the to-do list. The best thing about it, it's free.
You know, Chase, I love this garden. It's beautiful because it's unusual.
If it was left as a reservoir, it'd just be an ugly reservoir, an eyesore. But because of creativity and being turned into a volcano, there's a story behind that, and now it's a beautiful attraction.
And that's what all the gardens on today's show have in common. They've taken something that was ordinary and turned it into extraordinary with a little bit of imagination and a lot of elbow grease.
And you can do it at home in your garden. Why does a shed have to look like a shed or a clothesline look like a clothesline? It can be anything you want it to be.
It's just like with people. It's the quirks and the character that make for a beautiful garden. So forget about trying to make the perfect garden. Focus on making the garden perfect for you.
Well, hopefully we've inspired you to get a little crazy in the garden next time you're out there. And please join me and Graham next time as we show you more secrets of beautiful gardens. Next time,
Welcome to one of the most famous palaces and gardens in the world. We travel across Europe to discover the regal gardens of the world's most lavish royal residences. You can't help but be amazed on the sheer scale of the garden.
there's more opulence and extravagance than you can possibly imagine. And this here was the King's Water feature, and it goes 13 metres high, the biggest in the whole of Europe at its time.
As we take you on a journey fit for a king or queen.
How grand is that? It takes your breath away.